Welcome back to Half the Battle. I'm your host, as always, Daniel Levy, and today we're going to be talking about UFC London. Tom Aspinall taking on Curtis Blaydes live at the O2 Arena for us Americans and us in the North America. It's going to be going down this Saturday afternoon, but for those in the UK, it's this Saturday night live. And oh my God, you guys already know the energy for these UK cards, especially when one of y'all's own is fighting in the main event. And this card just in general is not going to disappoint. They never disappoint overseas, across the pond, as they like to say. And I'm just so excited to get down to business and talk about this main event, talk about the rest of the fights. And I know a lot of people have some serious opinionated opinions on is Tom Aspinall ready for this? What happens if Tom Aspinall gets taken down? What's his ground game like? This and that. Okay, we got a lot to talk about, because we're not going to just gloss over things of that nature. Those are some of the most important talking points of this fight. So a lot to get down to. So without further ado, let's get right down to business. Before we start, everyone do me a huge favor, smash that like button, hit the subscribe button, and let's get down to business. So main event of the evening in the heavyweight division, we got Curtis Blaydes representing the United States of America. He's 16-3, taking on Tom Aspinall, who represents the UK, who is 12-2. And currently they got it Tom Aspinall minus 130. The comeback on Curtis Razor Blaydes is plus 110. So Vegas was saying minus 108 a piece, minus 110 a piece. Y'all decide where you want this line to go. And surprisingly, based off what I've been seeing on Twitter, surprisingly, it's gone the opposite way. Everyone seems so overconfident on Curtis Blaydes, but the action's going the other way. It seems like whether you want to say it was the UK faithful that got the money down, or whether you want to say it was the sharps and the syndicates that got the money down, bottom line, the money came in on Tom Aspinall, moved the line. He's currently a minus 130 favorite. And is that justified or not? So lots of questions here, And firstly, let's start off by giving Curtis Blaydes a lot of credit, because this is a guy that's been paying his dues in the UFC since made his UFC debut. Guess what? So this guy goes out there, makes his UFC debut in 2016 against the current champion, Francis Ngannou. But at that time, just two prospects trying to make a name for themselves, and things didn't go Curtis Blaydes' way. But since that point, I mean, he put up a big win streak. And why was the Adam Milstead fight a no contest? Was Curtis Blaydes smoking on that Colorado reefer? Is that what happened? And they kind of overturned it a little bit? Some bullshit. But bottom line, Curtis Blaydes went on a 6-fight win streak, as far as I'm concerned, until he met Francis Ngannou again. Yeah, you can't hold that against them. He lost to the great Francis Ngannou. Oh, well, but look at some of these other performances he's had. Because, for someone that's got this reputation of just being a wrestler, and don't get me wrong, the wrestling is on point, I think there's other areas that you need to give a lot of credit to Curtis Blaydes for. In the Marc Hunt fight, which he fought Marc Hunt in Australia, by the way, that first round, man, he goes out there, he gets floored, and none of us would have held it against him if Marc Hunt had his signature walk-off knockout and, Curtis Blaydes goes on to live to fight another day. But Curtis Blaydes digs deep, bites down on that mouthpiece, and comes back there and wins the second and third round against Marc Hunt in Australia. And then he had his signature performance at the time against Alistair Overeem, where he broke his face with those elbows from guard. So, I mean, Curtis Blaydes had a lot of momentum going into that second Francis Ngannou fight. Got stopped in 45 seconds in that Francis Ngannou fight. And, it's one of those things where the fight prior for Francis Ngannou, he had that boring fight with Derek Lewis where he lost his confidence because of the previous fight against Stipe Miocic, where, he was taken down a bunch of times. And after that, it seemed like, oh, maybe Francis isn't going to quite pan out, this and that. So Francis went through his struggles, man. I mean, the first Stipe fight, then the Derek Lewis fight, then he faces Curtis Blaydes, and Francis Ngannou was an underdog in that fight. Everyone was saying all Curtis Blaydes has to do is just come out here, take this guy down, put the nail on the coffin, and Francis is about to be out the UFC. And the way it went down is, Francis Ngannou fires a nasty leg kick, hits him over the top. I think around it was either on the temple or on the ear. And then Curtis Blaydes tries to get on a leg, and that gets stuffed, and he gets put out of there shortly after. But since that point, he picks himself up again after taking that L. Goes out there. We don't got to talk about the big titty fight or, the Shamil fight at the time was a good win, but the Junior Cigano fight, like, listen to this. Junior Cigano, Junior Dos Santos, he goes out there, stuffs the takedowns, and, man, it didn't matter that he stuffed the takedowns because Curtis Blaydes got him so worried about the entries on the takedowns that he was able to actually go out there and knock out Junior Dos Santos at the time. Then he had the Alexander Volkov fight. Now, there's a lot we got to talk about with this Alexander Volkov fight. This is actually going to be one of my main talking points, and it's not going to be my main talking point because Aspinall looked 10 times better against Volkov than Blaydes did, because that would be bordering on the MMA math talk, and we know MMA math don't mean shit. So to me, that's really not that big of a deal that one guy looked better against the same opponent than the other. However, what we do need to address is that a lot of people are saying, well, all Curtis Blaydes needs to do, let's say he can't just lay on him early or this and that, or let's say he can't catch him with a strike. This is heavyweight MMA, high variance, anyone can go down. But let's talk about this. A lot of people are saying that all Blaydes needs to do is extend this fight. Hey, Curtis, you extend this fight, and then, quote unquote, automatically you're going to win. And I just find that to be such an asinine argument for the sole fact that the last time I saw Curtis Blaydes go the championship rounds, let me remind y'all what happened. So the 5th round of that fight against Volkov, all 3 judges unanimously scored that for Alexander Volkov. The 4th round against Volkov, I'm talking about Blaydes and Volkov, 2 of 3 judges scored the 4th round for Alexander Volkov. So for people to be saying that all you got to do is just extend this into the championship rounds and then you automatically win, I think that's complete bullshit, because the last time I saw Curtis Blaydes go to the championship rounds, he was huffing and puffing. That Colorado, that elevation training and that cardio wasn't quite cutting it that night. Now I think there's a reason why. Let's pull up the stats real quick, because back to the whole wrestler talk, which you guys know I love to bring up. This man landed 14 takedowns, but to take it a step further, he attempted 25 takedowns. So when you can attempt 25 takedowns in a fight, like, goddamn, like, that is pretty impressive, and that is just going to tire you out. Like, even for jiu-jitsu guys attempting takedowns, that's one thing, but for a high-level wrestler to be attempting that many takedowns, 25 attempted takedowns, like, it doesn't matter who you are, you're going to get tired. So I guess we can cut him some slack, but the bottom line is everybody's saying all Blaydes needs to do is extend this fight, and I'm thinking to myself, the last time he got extended, he unanimously lost the 5th round, and 2 of 3 judges scored that 4th round for Alexander Volkov. And Alexander Volkov, correct me if I'm wrong, actually went out there and took down Curtis Blaydes in those later rounds. So just some food for thought. Then we got to talk about the infamous Derek Lewis fight with Curtis Blaydes. So I feel like there's a lot of misconceptions in that fight. People are saying that, he didn't try to take him down. He tried to stand up with Derek Lewis, and that's why he got knocked out. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, really? Because isn't Derek Lewis known for being the guy that literally gets taken down by everyone, but he's able to explode back up and then knock people out? Like, isn't that what Derek Lewis is known for? Like, literally everybody can take him down. Alir Latifi took him down. Alexei Olenek took him down. You know who couldn't take him down? Curtis Blaydes. Curtis Blaydes went 0 for 3 on takedown attempts against Derek Lewis and then was knocked out. So when people try to spin it and say that, he was trying to bang with Derek Lewis, the heaviest hitter in UFC history, that's why he got knocked out. Let's put some context on that. He went 0 for 3 on takedowns against Derek Lewis and then got knocked out. Actually got knocked out when he attempted his last takedown. So I'm just saying, guys, like, are these takedowns going to be that readily available for Curtis Blaydes? The Jairzinho fight, the first three got stuffed, man. The next three didn't, right? But Jairzinho stuffed 3 takedowns. But look, what I'm trying to get at is this. Blaydes brings a lot to the table. That last fight against Chris Daukaus didn't even attempt a single takedown. And I liked what I was seeing from Blaydes in that fight. He was switching his stances. He was establishing his jab. He had some really nice leg kicks. And when it was time for him to land his nice shot, and what happened was Chris Daukaus tried to kind of go over the top with a loopy shot, and Curtis Blaydes caught him straight down the pipe. And you guys know a straight shot is going to land there before a loopy shot. So that's exactly what happened. So props to Blaydes on a beautiful knockout his last time out. Now let's talk about this guy, Tom Aspinall. So Tom Aspinall, man, firstly, let me just say this. I've been betting Tom Aspinall. He's had how many UFC fights? He's had 5 UFC fights. I've bet him in 4 of his 5 UFC fights. The only one I didn't bet him on was the Spivak fight. I don't remember my reasoning. Maybe the line was too wide, which it turned out not to be too wide or whatever. But I bet him against Jake Collier at serious chalk straight. The Alan Badeau fight, listen to this. He was minus 350 against Alan Badeau. And you guys know I rarely lay numbers like 350 straight. I mean, last week, we cashed on Yair plus 155, Stoltz was plus 124. I mean, I'll lay chalk from time to time, but for the most part, I'm an underdog guy. Well, I felt so confident laying minus 350 on Aspinall straight against Badeau. He ended up looking minus 3,500. The Andre Arlovsky fight, I think it was minus 200, minus 220. And like in that fight against Andre Arlovsky, I mean, firstly, when you unload on a 50 strike combination on a guy, like no matter what, you're going to get a bit tired, but I don't think that's indicative of, this guy having a suspect gas tank or this and that. I think that was just a case where, have you ever blown your load before? Like, doesn't it take like a little bit to recover after? Hey, props to y'all that can just go like, 2 minutes later. But for a lot of us, we got to wait, a good 10, 15 minutes after you blow that load. Well, Tom Aspinall next round goes out there. And I mean, like, I get Arlovsky's a little bit older and this and that, but like, who goes out there and just one takedown immediately chokes him out right away, right after? Like that, like, you got to take note of these things. Just because they look easy doesn't mean you should discredit that. You should just discredit it. So that was one sign that, okay, maybe this black belt jiu-jitsu is not a bunch of malarkey. Maybe this is serious, right? The next fight against Sergey Spivak, he stuffed the one takedown that Spivak attempted there, which, put the stock you want to into it. I don't really need to hype it up that much, but hey, he still did stuff that takedown. But where I've been most impressed with his grappling was the most recent fight against Volkan. Now let's talk about this. So firstly, that performance was a shutout in every area of the game. The stance switching, the punches, the kicks, the takedowns, the entries to the takedowns, the top control, the elbows, the submissions. Like that was literally an MMA clinic in 3 minutes and 45 seconds by Tom Aspinall. So the whole thing is, how is this guy on the ground? Is he a novice? Is he the real deal? What's the case, right? Like, because people are thinking that Curtis Blaydes is just going to come out here and just lay on him and this and that. And I'm thinking to myself, like, okay, maybe we don't have, any footage of Aspinall on his back. But when I think of a novice grappler, what he did to Volkov, just the entry of the takedowns. I mean, firstly, the first one was a body lock takedown with the outside trip. And then the second one was a beautifully timed blast double where he slipped the shot and went in there. Like, you don't just time shots like that if you're a novice on the mat. And to take it a step further, he had the wherewithal. For jiu-jitsu, it's one thing. We'd prefer to be in side control than half guard, but in MMA, a lot of guys would prefer to be in half guard than side control, because it gives them a good chance to get off on some more effective ground and pound. So he takes him down, the second time with that beautiful timed blast double where he slipped the shot, goes in there, gets on top of him. And firstly, that top control is superb, moves right into half guard so that he could get off on some shots. And he basically got Volkov so worried about the elbows that Volkov starts framing up, gives his arm away, right, or gives his arm to Tom Aspinall, and that straight arm lock was there for the take. When's the last time y'all saw someone hit a straight arm lock in heavyweight MMA? Are we talking all the way back to the Frank Mir days? It's funny because Aspinall looks like a younger Frank Mir, right? But I'm just saying, like, if he was a novice on the mat, like, he would not be doing the things that he was doing in that fight against Volkov. Like, you don't just take someone down with that kind of ease, pass like it's nothing, and then straight arm lock a top 5 guy. Like, I just feel like if you're a novice on the mat, you're not doing shit like that. So, okay, is it an assumption that, this guy, if he gets taken to the mat, what's going to happen there? I just don't think a white belt or novice grappler can pull off the things that he's pulled off in the little sequences we've seen from him on the mat. So I actually think it's more of a case where this guy has a lot more to show, and he just hasn't gotten a chance to show it yet. And this might be the time where he does, or it might not, because I mean, like I said earlier, that Derek Lewis fight, people just write it off and say, Curtis Blaydes just got knocked out by the guy with the most knockouts in UFC heavyweight history. So I mean, what's the big deal, right? But I view it as Derek Lewis stuffed 3 of 3 takedowns. So why can't we mention that? Is that not like an important factor here, that Derek Lewis stuffed the takedowns? Derek Lewis forced the stand-up fight. Derek Lewis capitalized on the sloppy shot. So this whole thing, all Blaydes has to do is just take him down and the fight's going to be over. I don't know, man. I think that Aspinall, allegedly he's been grappling for 20 plus years, and allegedly he's a black belt. But I mean, from what I've seen, that grappling he's been showing is not low-level stuff. Like, you go back to the Volkov versus Blaydes fight, and I'm not doing it for MMA math that one guy beat the other guy more impressively. I'm more so doing it to show the levels of what I saw on the mat with Aspinall. Blaydes would take him down, Volkov would pop back up. The reason he was able to score 14 takedowns, if he had scored 14 takedowns, that means that Volkov wasn't held down. That means that Volkov kept getting back up. Whereas when Aspinall took down Volkov, there wasn't any getting back up, man. And the one time he did get back up, he was taken down shortly after and finished even shortly after that. So I just don't see a novice here. And people can say it's an assumption, it's a guess, but I think it's an educated guess that he performs fine. He's able to stuff takedowns and is able to possibly create scrambles, sweeps, attempt submissions off his back. I'm not saying throwing up a triangle with those fucking, a tree trunk legs or anything like that, but I'm saying more so, I mean, y'all remember the Frank Mir days? I think that this is the new school Frank Mir, except he's got everything. I mean, you see the bounce on the feet, you see the stance switching, you see him jab to the body, then go up top, you see him mixing the leg kicks, you see some cheeky elbows as well. Like, I personally think that this kid Aspinall is the real deal. And it's also a thing where you either recognize talent or you don't. You can be one of these haters that you see the guy's got the hype train and that they're trying to push him. And, people have some kind of weird resentment towards that. It reminds me of, back in the day when I bet Conor McGregor against Chad Mendes. Oh, he had never fought a wrestler before. And then people try to, make a bullshit that, oh, Chad was winning the whole fight until he gassed out, which actually, if you watch that fight, someone was getting pieced up on the feet. Yeah, were their takedowns landed? Yes, but Conor was able to survive, and when we got back up to the feet, blew him out the water. So I view this as maybe this could be the heavyweight McGregor versus Chad Mendes type fight. The only difference here is that Aspinall can land blast doubles. Aspinall is a black belt in jiu-jitsu, and I don't see too many heavyweights going out there landing straight arm locks against top 5 guys. So the proficiency I've seen in his offensive grappling, this is where I make the educated guess. Like, if you're that good offensively grappling, like, why am I all of a sudden supposed to think that, oh, this is a guy with, 2% takedown defense. This is a guy that, oh, just put him on his back and he's a fish. Like, I see from the little I've seen, this guy can clearly grapple. So I'm not writing that off. So basically what I think is going to happen here, and I get it, this is a step up in competition. Curtis Blaydes has been in the UFC a long time. He's been paying his dues, but I think that Tom Aspinall is a lot faster. I think that Tom Aspinall has a lot more variety to his game. I think he's more well-rounded. Don't get me wrong. We've seen Curtis Blaydes knock people out standing. Like I said, I like what I saw in the Diakiese fight, switching his stance, showing that he doesn't need takedowns at times against certain people. He's going to need takedowns here. It's just, are they going to come? And if they do come, is he going to be able to get off on any damage on top of Aspinall? Is Aspinall going to be able to create a scramble, sweeps, get back up to his feet, attack for submissions, like whatever the case may be? So I like Aspinall here, man. The only thing that sketches me out is obviously, that slight chalk price. That's actually been my most problematic betting range, is the slight favorites. You guys know me as an underdog guy for the most part. I mean, last week cashed on plus 155 Yair and plus 125 for Stoltzfus and this and that. But here, I mean, there's a chance that in hindsight, it looks like, well, why wasn't he a bigger favorite? And then there's also a chance in hindsight that, Blaydes lays on him, Blaydes gasses him out, Blaydes does all these things. And then I look like a complete idiot for picking Aspinall, which is fine. I mean, listen, I'm going to be making these breakdowns for a long ass time, and there's going to be many times when I'm wrong. And hopefully this isn't one of them, because I got Tom Aspinall to come out here and make a statement. And lastly, this might be kind of irrelevant, but I just wanted to bring it up. I wanted to bring it up anyways. Like, y'all know this is in the UK, right? Y'all know that there is like right now it's what 5 o'clock here. That means it's like 10 o'clock over there. 5-hour difference here on the East Coast. I'm not sure what it is with the Colorado difference. This dude Blaydes got to the UK on Tuesday, like fight Saturday morning. Like, that jet lag is no fucking joke. He better be on his game. And then you mix in that ruckus crowd. I know my fellow Brits are gonna bring it out there. So I like this fight for Aspinall, man. I think that Aspinall comes out here. The speed difference is too much, and I think he surprises a lot of people. If he hasn't already surprised you with his ground game, again, who just takes down Arlovsky and then just submits him right away, no problem? Like, has anyone? I mean, I think the last time he got submitted was the what was it? The Josh Barnett fight all the way back in fucking 2016, and that was a war up until that point. Whereas Aspinall whooped his ass the first round with that 50 strike combination, and then gathered his wits back about him, goes out there, shoots one blast double, and immediately takes his back, doesn't even need to get his hooks in, and chokes him out. Like, you don't just do that unless you got skills. People write off these impressive finishes for whatever reason. They like to call them meme finishes, they like to call them flukes. I was impressed with what I saw, but it goes back to the Volkan fight for me. Like, when you shut someone out of that caliber, a top five, a perennial top five guy, to that extent, in literally every single area, the kicks were covered, the punches were covered, the entries to the takedowns, the top control, the submissions. Like, I see this kid Aspinall being one of these, next wave future, top heavyweight contenders, man. Just like we said when we saw Cyril Gane the first time, there's just something different about this guy. Just like we saw when Francis Ngannou first came to the UFC, there's something different. The heavyweights are evolving now. We know what Blaydes brings to the table. Blaydes is a finished product. Blaydes is not going to throw any curveballs here. Blaydes is also not fighting, a guy that should be cutting the 205, who was coming off a knockout loss in Diakiese. Aspinall is a 6'5" guy with a 78-inch reach. Like, he's a real heavyweight, but he moves like a lighter guy. I don't know. Like, I understand people's hesitation because, historically speaking, with other hype prospects, maybe they've crashed and burned. But I just got to go with my gut, and I see talent. I see potential. I see him being the next guy up there with the Ngannous, with the Cyril Ganes, with the next generation of heavyweights. And there's just been this new wave, not just at heavyweight, but even at light heavyweight. Remember, for the longest time, it was the Gustafssons, it was the Rampage, Machida, Rashad, this and that. Whereas now the new generation is the Magomed Ankalaevs, the Jamal Hills, the Yuri Prohaskas. So I see a similar thing happening at heavyweight, and I see Aspinall being the guy that's carrying the torch. Now, back to the whole first UFC L talk. Like I always say, no one's exempt from that first UFC L. So unless your name is John Jones or Khabib, and if they stick around long enough, they take their first L's too. But all I'm trying to say is that, if this is time to pay your dues, take that first L, okay, whatever. It takes that on the chin, but from what I'm seeing, man, and again, because people like to say, well, if Francis Ngannou wasn't in the picture, then Curtis Blaydes would be the UFC heavyweight champion. And I'm just like, well, didn't I see Derek Lewis, who literally gets taken down every single fight, stuff 3 of 3 takedowns against Blaydes, and then knock his head into the 5th row? So to me, man, I think people are sleeping on Aspinall. I think people are failing to grasp that he actually can grapple. Like I said, that last fight, you don't just hit takedowns like that. You don't just hit a body lock takedown on a guy like Volkov right away. And then when he gets back up, that could have been the time when Aspinall got discouraged. That could have been the time when he was huffing and puffing. Hey, my first takedown attempt didn't work. Let's live the fight another day. You know what I mean? And nah, man, the way he slipped that punch to the blast double, the way he passed the guard. I mean, the way he set up that straight arm lock. Again, when's the last time y'all saw a straight arm lock in heavyweight MMA? Frank Mir back in the day again. So I'm on Aspinall here, man, and I understand again people's hesitation. They they feel like he hasn't proven it to them yet. And yeah, obviously I'd like a bigger sample size. Obviously I'd like to see what he does as he continues to climb the ranks, but that's exactly what he's doing here, climbing the ranks. And I think he's going to show that he's the real deal. So listen, yeah, I'm going to look like an idiot if Blaydes comes out here and either knocks him out on the feet or, I mean, it's heavyweight MMA. Anyone can go down, right? Or it easily gets takedowns and top control and ground and pound and this and that. Yeah, look, I'm ready to be wrong on it, but I trust my gut. I don't care what anyone else is saying. I mean, I'm open to listening to what other people are saying, but at the end of the day, just follow my own gut. And if your gut is telling you to bet Blaydes, then bet Blaydes, man. Like, I'm not always right, man. So, but the thing is, like, I don't seek validation in what other people think about my takes, and you shouldn't either. If maybe you feel like, okay, I'm going to give you some entertainment or I'm going to bring up some points that you hadn't quite thought of, okay, that's great. But at the end of the day, you got to trust your own gut. And my gut is saying Aspinall. So I'm going to go with Aspinall here. Yeah, would I love to bet him plus 100? Would I love to bet him plus 110? Yeah, okay, sure. But like, there's a chance in hindsight that it's going to look better than that price tag. Plus, I'm used to laying chalk on a guy like Aspinall, so it is what it is, man. My educated guess is that this guy can grapple, and I thought the evidence was in that last fight and even the Arlovsky fight, despite how small of a sample size that is. That wasn't no novice grappling. That wasn't some dude that just put on the gi for the first time. That was someone that's putting in the work, and he just seems to me like the ultimate competitor. So I'm going Aspinall to come out here and finish Curtis Blaydes. And don't be surprised if he lands a takedown or two of his own if this fight gets extended. If it doesn't get extended, probably not. But down the stretch, I mean, that's where Volkov hit a takedown on Curtis Blaydes. That's where Volkov unanimously won that 5th round. That's where Volkov won the 4th round on 2 of 3 judges' scorecards. So people just saying all you got to do is extend them. I ain't buying it. So I'm going Tom Aspinall for the win. All right, damn, we spent like 30 minutes on that fight. I think I covered everything. If I didn't, I'll come back and say some other stuff. Before I talk about the co-main event between Hermansson and Chris Curtis, everybody do me that huge favor. Smash that like button for me. Hit the subscribe button. Truly appreciate y'all helping me grow the channel, and I just enjoy being here with you guys talking fights. So let me bring up Let me answer some questions. Philosopher KS said, do you sell picks? No, I don't sell picks. I used to sell picks, but I fucking hated every single second of it. It was one of the worst experiences of my life. And someone would have said, oh, well, all you had to do was win during that time and it would have been enjoyable. And it's like, nah, it was just a different kind of pressure. I bet for me and me only. And if people find entertainment or value from what I bring to the table, that's great. But, there was just, I just did not enjoy selling picks. It's not for me. So I'd rather entertain you guys with the show and give out my picks for free, which I've been doing. And I'm doing really good this year. And I'm on track to have my best year to date. Already still at 20% ROI, and we're half past July. So, and more than half past the year. So I think I made the right call. And I just feel so much better not selling picks. I just fucking hated it, but I had to go through that to understand that, because I felt like I earned my right to sell picks at the time with the results I had, but selling picks was just not for me. So enjoy my free picks while y'all can, I mean, I say while y'all can, you're going to for the rest, because I ain't selling picks probably ever again. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I do not sell picks. And you can find them at Bet MMA Tips / Best Fight Picks. You can find them here on Half the Battle or on my Twitter. I post my bets as well, which is at Best Fight Picks. Let's see what else y'all are saying from me. Let's see. Kevin Hyatt said Aspinall landing the first takedown. Let's see. I'm excited about that. J23 says Aspinall has 20 plus years of jiu-jitsu experience and a black belt on his side. Blaydes hasn't been up against that level of grappler before. That remains to be seen. Not the factual parts that you said about the level of jiu-jitsu, but yeah, let's see just how they match up when that happens. My boy Rahman said Hamzat smash the like button. Hell yeah, do it. Liam pick fights. What's up, champ? Appreciate you being here, man. And don't worry about them haters, man. I mean, like, I get certain points, but at the same time, the most important thing is focusing on yourself. You know, like, I'm just focused on myself, man. Like, so, and you've always been a cool dude to me, so I fuck with Liam. He's a nice guy, man. And you know, also he's a blue belt in jiu-jitsu, a competitive one as well. He's a former wrestler. I'm a purple belt in jiu-jitsu, and I didn't just say that to one up you, right? I just brought that up because we're both grapplers. We both got that understanding and that love for that side of the game, man. So, you know, hell yeah, man. I fuck with you. Let's see what else y'all got for me. My boy Ghost Gardener smashed on that like button from like a fucking champ. Yeah, do that with all your burner accounts. You know, do what you got to do, brother. So let's see. Steve says Dan is selling it for me on Aspinall. I mean, yeah, and now he's saying Aspinall by sub. Yeah, but don't get cute with these props, bro. I mean, they might hit every now and then, but I mean, when the guy you're picking straight up is already at a decent price, like, I don't see the reason to go into the prop world. But that's just my take on it. You know, everybody can bet how they want, but at the end of the day, if your gut is telling you Blaydes, bet Blaydes. You know, again, you got to trust your gut at the end of the day. I'm not always right. I'm just telling you what my gut and my leans and my reads and my intuition tells me, which is Aspinall. But let's see what happens. All right, anything y'all gotta say for me before I move on to this co-main event? Let's see. I think that's pretty much it. JSJ23 said, do I take anything away from the Diakiese fight? Well, I did like how Curtis Blaydes was using leg kicks. I did like how he was switching his stances. I did like how when, like, he didn't feel so threatened by the fast hands of Diakiese that he automatically needed to force shots. Like, he wasn't forcing things, which was a very good step in the right direction. I just think that Diakiese is, you know, a former light heavyweight, someone that could drop, whereas you'd have to cut off Aspinall's dick to make him fucking drop to 205. You know what I'm saying? Like, this guy, he's 6'5", like weighs 240, 250, whatever it is, but moves around like a lighter guy. It's just that next generation of heavyweights. All right, so Reed Henry says, how much ass have you gotten in that shirt, Dan? That's funny, man. That's gentlemen don't kiss and tell, my man, but I can tell you where I bought it. I think Express got some good shirts, man. So definitely look good, feel good, perform good, all that. Make love good, like James Brown used to say. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, just be taking care of yourself, man. But do what works for you. I feel like I can pull this off. Other guys feel like they can't pull it off, and vice versa. They can pull the plaid shirts off. I usually can't. So everybody's different. You got to do what's best for you. Alex Gagnon, did I pronounce it right? You Canadian with a name like that? He said the biggest red flag is the travel thing. I heard a fighter from Asia say it can take a month to recover. Yeah, exactly. Dawoon Jung said that on my podcast. JR said, what up, Dan? Big fan. Thank you, bro. That means a lot to me. Liam Picks Fight said, God bless, preach, brother. Appreciate you, Bigly. I appreciate you, Bigly, man. For sure, man. We got to do something soon. It's been a while. And if you're ever in Atlanta, you know, my gym's got open doors. Let's come grapple, man. Let's get it in. Let's get some work in. Teach each other some new techniques, and same if I'm in New York, for sure, man. I'm always down. All right, so the Prodigy said, how much that chain costs? Is it real diamond? You know, people are always trying me on that. They're like, oh, it's fake. I'm like, well, you got a diamond gun on you? put that to the test. Let me know how fake it really is. So let's just say that I earned it when I got it. You know what I'm saying? MRA says, do I own a gym? So I train at Team Octopus in Sandy Springs. I've been there since the gym opened, and I'm there every single day. And I'm very close with the owner, who's actually a serial entrepreneur who I will be doing a podcast with. His name's Abraham Gray. He's an 100 millionaire, and I'm going to do a podcast with him to just like have a really informational talk about how he went from, you know, a dude who was getting sent to foster homes to selling multi-million-dollar businesses. And he's actually a brown belt in jiu-jitsu. You know, we train together all the time. So yeah, there's a lot to say. All right, y'all, let's move on to this co-main event of the evening. Co-main event of the evening in the middleweight division. This should be a lot of fun. We got Jack the Joker Hermansson. He's 22-7, representing Sweden, taking on Chris Curtis, who is 29-8, representing the United States of America. Currently, just depends where you look. They got it Jack the Joker Hermansson -110. The comeback, or not the comeback, it's a dead pick on -110 on Chris Curtis, the action man. So firstly, I just gotta say this, man. A lot of credit needs to be given to Chris Curtis for a lot of reasons, man. One of those reasons being is that, you know, this dude's a former welterweight, and like, I've known about Curtis a very long time, because back in the day, he fought my buddy Bilal Mohammed on the regional scene, and y'all got to go back and watch that fight. Like, there was massive trash talk going into it. They were even talking shit to each other after the fight. But, you know, Bilal Mohammed did what Bilal Mohammed does. He gave him a tour of the octagon. So ever since that fight, I had never really had the highest opinion on Chris Curtis. But something that really made me look, I respect anyone that steps in there, of course, but something that made me just elevate that respect for Chris Curtis is the fact that this guy never gave up. This guy went through the ups and downs. This guy even retired like twice on one night, and to pick himself back up, everybody loves a good comeback story. And that's exactly what Curtis has done. And now he's moving up to 185 pounds, you know, for these last few fights. And the improvements that he's been making, I mean, he looks like he's in his prime form. So Chris Curtis, man, excuse me, Chris Curtis has got my respect. And that last fight against Rodolfo, he stuffed 20, 30 takedowns, and he's got some smooth boxing for MMA standards, man. And, you know, his teammate Sean Strickland actually beat Hermansson, and they got, you know, somewhat similar styles, and he's got the insight. So there's that. But I've just been like waiting for this time where the fact that he's a welterweight, you know, is he growing into the frame at middleweight, or does he just not feel like cutting weight anymore? Like, what's the deal on that? But I've been waiting for these past things I've seen, you know, where's the PFL fights where he was easily taken down, or even back to the Bilal Muhammad fight, which I keep referring to. Like, when's that finally going to happen? Because these first few opponents he's fought are great, and I'm not going to discredit it, but I will discuss what happened in those performances. Phil Haas was lighting up Chris Curtis. Let's not beat around the bush. Phil Haas was lighting him up. But what's the one thing? Well, hey, Dominic, what are you saying about the mic work? Are you talking about Curtis Blaydes, or are you talking about my mic? Like, is my mic cutting out, or do you just mean Blaydes needs to learn how to talk? Specify that for me, because I don't want any bullshit like I had a few episodes back. But one thing about Curtis, is he growing into the weight class? Was this just a thing where he didn't feel like cutting weight these last few? Because Jack Hermansson's a actual middleweight. Jack Hermansson's a guy that cuts weight to make middleweight. Jack Hermansson's a big boy. And Jack Hermansson is a guy that, man, there was a time when you could just cash bets on Jack Hermansson left and right and center. Like, let me pull up some of these fights, man. Like, there was a run where I just rode the Jack Hermansson train all the way. And it's just a case of, like, you know, for example, bet on him against Talis Laides, which was like a max bet, and he even like he hurt his rib, and he still came back and won that fight. You know it's a max bet when your worst case scenario happens, and the bet still cashes. And he showed a lot of heart in that fight. The David Branch fight, he was like a plus 110, plus 130 underdog, submitted him in like 30 seconds. You know, the Ronaldo Jacare Souza fight, had a great performance there too. And then I even bet against him in the Edmund Shabazian fight. I thought that might have been a good match for Shabazian. I was wrong on that. Hermansson did his thing. But sometimes Hermansson kind of will be a one-trick pony at times. Like, don't get me wrong. I mean, he's got hands, and it's not to take away from that. It's just more so that, you know, he doesn't really react as well to getting hit. And it's more so when he gets on top of guys, one thing he's always called himself is the guy with the best ground and pound in the UFC. So if he can get on top of Chris Curtis, start getting off on those elbows, and don't sleep on Jack Hermansson's guillotine too. It's not your traditional guillotine either. It's something different. Like even Talis Laides, who's like a serious black belt, like when he got caught in that, it was kind of like, yo, like, goddamn. Even Jacare, even though both of them didn't tap, Jacare got caught up in that thing too. That guillotine from Jack Hermansson, serious. And I think a guy like Chris Curtis gets caught up in that. It's not going to be, you know, what, 3rd degree black belt Talis Laides, world champion jiu-jitsu guy Jacare getting out of it. I think Curtis gets caught up in that guillotine, and that fight's going to be over. So it's really just about, can Curtis maybe weather an early storm on the mat, and then from there the takedown attempts just become, you know, the horsepower diminishes on them, and then Curtis can keep it standing and just kind of use some of that smoother boxing to make things happen? Or is it a case where, welcome to the top 10, young man, and there's levels to this shit? So I lean Hermansson in this fight, man. I think he can get back on track as long as he's still into this, because sometimes when you take a few of the setbacks he's had, when he's just been on the cusp of the title, where it was the Jared Cannonier fight, the Sean Strickland fight, and the Sean Strickland fight, like, I know it says it was a split decision, but like, when you beat a man with just the jab in a 5-round fight, like, I know it might not be the most aesthetically pleasing thing to watch, but that's very impressive. That's very high level. And it's also discouraging for the opponent. So I'm very curious to see if we have a fired up Joker, if we have someone who's been taking it seriously, or does he have one foot out? Because if he's got one foot out, then Curtis is definitely live here. But I think if you give me, you know, Jack, you know, coming in here, backs up against the wall, wants to prove a little something, then I think Jack comes out here, finds these opportunistic takedowns, has some nice top control, gets off on some ground and pound, and I think he hands Chris Curtis his first UFC L. So I'm gonna go with Jack Hermansson in this one. Kind of bummed I missed out on the plus 110. You know, it would have been nice, but you know, it just comes down to a lot. You know, the takedown defense was much improved by Curtis, and it's just tough for me because it's like, it's almost like I have this bias against Curtis. Like I got no issue with him as a person. Like he seems like a really cool guy. It's just more so like, although his skills have vastly improved, I still like have the old memories of like the PFL days, or even before that, the Bilal Muhammad fight that I keep bringing up from back in the day. So we'll see, because now we're in the top 10. I'm gonna lean Jack Hermansson for this one. Featured bout in the lightweight division, we got Paddy the Baddie Pimblett. He's 18-3, taking on Jordan Leavitt, who is 10-1. Currently, they got it Paddy Pimblett minus 245. The comeback on Jordan Leavitt is plus 205. So this is one of those spots where, so firstly, I want to say this. A lot of people think that Jordan Leavitt has a Bet MMA Tips account. Like, guys, that's not him. Let's just get that out the way. There's a lot of imposters out there. This dude ain't betting on fights. But anyways, Jordan Leavitt, decently one-dimensional, but you know what that one dimension is? I mean, he's got good scrambling for the first round and a half of a fight. And, you know, if he can take your back, possibly he can choke you out, and, you know, he can do some things on the mat. The stand-up ain't quite there. Surprisingly won a few UFC fights. I was actually a lot more higher on him on Contender Series than I am in his actual UFC run, because obviously the level of competition has gone way, way up. But with Paddy, there's another showcase fight I view it as. I think that Paddy, I don't think Paddy needs to shoot any takedowns here. I think Paddy can keep it standing. The issue with Paddy standing is he keeps that chin straight up in the air. And at some point, someone will capitalize on that. I'm just not convinced that it's going to be Jordan Leavitt. That is. I don't think Jordan Leavitt's punching technique is exactly the best. I think Jordan Leavitt's best chance is to make something happen early. If that doesn't happen, I think he gasses out. And I think that Paddy takes over the second and third. But if Leavitt doesn't have any early success, then I see Paddy coming out here overwhelming him. I think the crowd's going to be a bit too much for Leavitt. And I'm not quite sure Leavitt's ready for this. I just don't see a grown man that twerks beating Paddy Pimblett in a fight. So I'm going Paddy Pimblett to come out here and teach Jordan Leavitt a lesson. Now, this one I'm excited about. Next up in the 205-pound division, we got a matchup between Nikita Krylov. He's 27-9, taking on Alexander Gustafsson, who is 18-7. Currently, depending where you look, we got Nikita Krylov. I see minus 189. I see minus 190. I see minus 200. The comeback on Alexander Gustafsson is plus 170. So I know for a fact, like I don't really listen to too many breakdowns. I'm kind of, I just kind of like to focus on myself, but I have an assumption that what people are saying going in this fight is, oh, if you gave me the best version of Gustafsson, if you gave me prime Gustafsson, then it would be a crime for him to be plus 170 against Nikita Krylov. And I'm just thinking to myself, well, do you have a time machine? Like, because if you have a time machine and you can take me back to 2017, you can take me back to 2013 when he had the close fight with John Jones. Hey, give me that time machine. Take me back to 2017, and I'll bet on Gustafsson at those odds. But 2022, like almost more than half past 2022, this is not prime Gustafsson. You're not going to get the best version of Gustafsson. I mean, look, the guy retired in 2019, and his exact words were, first, the show's over. His other exact words was, I just don't have what it takes anymore. you know what I'm saying, man? And comes back against Werdum. I cashed a plus 300, a plus 305 on Werdum in that fight. Easy money. Was getting lazy, didn't feel like cutting the weight anymore. Now it's coming back. It's been 2 years. Wants to do a little quick cash grab, get his little 6-figure paycheck, and move on. And I'm cool with that. But the guy, as soon as the fight gets tough, that's when he's mentally checking out. With Nikita Krylov, yeah, has he had his ups and downs? Yeah, but he's only 30 years old. He's still just about to enter his athletic prime, and he's had the tough fights. He's good everywhere the fight goes. He's got that Kyokushin karate background where he flows his punches to his kicks, to his takedowns really effectively. The only issues with Krylov from time to time is occasionally he'll make a bonehead mistake on the mat, or sometimes he'll go max effort and get kind of tired in fights. But people saying he pulled a stunt that last fight against Paul Craig. I mean, guys, like, how many times are we going to talk about these Paul Craig fights? Guys get carried away. I mean, he was smashing on Paul Craig. Some people even thought he knocked Paul Craig out, but he got caught in the same thing that Jamal Hill got caught in the same thing that Magomed and Khalib got caught in the same thing that Kennedy and Zechuku got caught in. So, like, at some point, at some point, you can't call it a fluke anymore. Someone said Gus don't get paid 6 figures unless he wins. I mean, I bet Gus gets at least $100K to show, man. I mean, he's got a long history in the sport. That first fight with Jones was all the way back in 2013. So, like I said, Gus retired in 2019. He said he doesn't have what it takes anymore. So why am I supposed to believe that in 2019 he didn't have what it takes anymore, that all of a sudden now, when we're more than halfway past 2022, that now he has what it takes? I think Nikita Krylov is a guy who's been watching Alexander Gustafsson his entire career, and this is like a big motivating fight for him. This is the biggest opportunity of his career to go out there and beat a guy who was once considered one of the top guys at the weight class. But I just don't think Gustafsson's that guy anymore, man. So I see Nikita Krylov just out hustling Alexander Gustafsson. Maybe there's a finish along the way, maybe not. But bottom line, I just see the work rate, the will to win just being too much for Nikita Krylov. And I'm looking to bet Nikita Krylov in the spot. Again, all the people saying, oh, but if this was the prime Gus, if you give me the best version of Gus, then these lines are egregious. Egregious. It's like, well, if you give me a time machine and you can take me back to 2017, 2016, 15, 14, 13, okay. Well, then I'll bet Gus at those odds. But we are in, we're past the midpoint of 2022, and we are not getting that guy anymore. So I got Nikita Krylov, who's only 30 years old, who's just entering his prime. He's been paying his dues, had a close fight with Mohammed and Khalif where he unanimously won the first round. Was smashing Paul Craig until he got caught in a triangle. What, is Gus going to catch him in a triangle? So, yeah, there's certain things to be worried about with Krylov. Occasional bonehead mistake on the mat. Sometimes, goes balls to the wall and gasses himself out. Didi says, Dan, don't bet on low IQ fighters. I mean, I've bet Krylov 5 times. I've cashed 4 out of 5 of those. So it's all about picking spots. And one of my favorite angles, if you guys have been following me, I love fading washed up fighters. I love fading guys past their prime, guys on the decline, guys that have retired before and are coming back. I mean, look at Misha Tate last week. You understand what I'm saying? Like, once you retire for a reason. So you're not going to get the best Gustafsson. I think that this is the biggest fight of Krylov's career, and I think he's going to come out here and capitalize. So I got Nikita Krylov to come out here and win, and this is a spot I'm looking to bet. So everybody do me a huge favor. Smash the like button for me. Hit the subscribe button. I truly, truly appreciate it. Now let's breeze through these next few because we've already been going close to an hour, and I think we covered the important fights. But next up in the women's flyweight division, we got Molly McCann. She's 12-4, representing the UK, taking on Hannah Goldy, who is 6-2, representing the US. Currently, they got it. Molly McCann minus 390, minus 400. The comeback on Hannah Goldy is plus 320. So real quick, my boy Didi said, you know your shit, so I can't hate, but Krylov ain't it for me. I mean, dude, I was hearing the same shit last week with Stoltzfus. Oh, Stoltzfus is 0-3. How can you pick him here? Well, it's because Grant is like 1 or 2 fights away from retirement. Now, to your credit, Stoltzfus was plus 124. I do have to lay chalk on Krylov, but Gustafsson's already retired. It was back in 2019. He said he doesn't have what it takes anymore. So, like, what? A couple years later, now he's got what it takes. Like, it don't work like that. These things don't get better; they get worse. So, as long as Krylov don't make no bonehead mistake, I think he'll be fine. But I mean, like, what is he gonna get triangled off his back? I don't expect that to happen. Back to Molly and Hannah. I mean, look, what I love about Molly, she kind of reminds me of a female Frankie Edgar. She's got kind of that volume boxing style, and she's able to mix in those entries to those takedowns, has a nice blast double from time to time, fights with a lot of spirit. And this is just a good matchup for her. Hannah Goldy, she's just kind of inactive in there. She'll throw the occasional side kick. She circles around a lot. From time to time can go out there and hit an opportunistic armbar off her back. But she doesn't really win minutes in fights. And the time she does, her opponent has to have the lowest output you've ever seen. So I just see Molly McCann coming out here and outworking her, putting a pace on her, and just overwhelming her. So I got Molly McCann in that fight. Kicking off the main card, we got a matchup between Paul Craig. I can't pronounce it. He's 16-4-1, representing Scotland. I got love for my Scots. Taking on Volkan Oezdemir, who's 17-6, representing Switzerland. Currently, they got it Volkan Oezdemir minus 155. The comeback on Paul Craig is plus 135. I mean, I think we know the deal here. Volkan's going to whoop his ass until Volkan. I said Volkov. I meant Volkan. Volkan is going to whoop his ass until Volkan either wins the fight or until Volkan gets carried away and gets submitted. I mean, I used to think that the Paul Craig and Khalif fight was a fluke, but once you do that to Kennedy and Zechuku, and then you do it to Jamal Hill, and then you do it to Nikita Krylov. Like, at what point do we just not call it a fluke anymore? Like, this guy, Paul Craig, just has a knack for for pulling off these amazing triangle chokes. He's such a specialist. And the thing about it is, his opponents just get so carried away. Like, they'll knock him down, then follow him into his guard, try to ground and pound, or they'll think that, that shit ain't gonna work on me. I'm gonna take him down, pass his guard, and try to show that I can beat him at his own game. Dudes get carried away. So is Volkan gonna get carried away? I know Volkan can fight a disciplined fight. He can win here, or if Paul Craig pulls guard, stand up, make him get back up, make him make him fight you on the feet. But let's not forget, Paul Craig hit a blast double leg on Magomed Ankalaev. Like, it's not just him, off his back. I think that he's decent on top as well. And I think he's got a lot of confidence here. And also, Volkan looked kind of lost his last two fights. I mean, that Yuri Prohaska fight, I don't give a fuck what some Twitter scorecard said about, Volkan, excuse me, won the first round. If you actually watch that fight, like, just watch it. Don't worry about the commentary saying. Don't worry about some dudes with 5 chins, how they scored it. Like, just watch it for yourself. Like, Yuri Prohaska was playing with him the whole fight, had his hands down, was taunting him, was just playing with him. And then when it was time for Yuri Prohaska to get off on his strikes, he launched him into the 5th row. The Magomed Ankalaev fight, I mean, Magomed was toying with him until Magomed gassed in that 3rd round, and there it's not like Volkan had that much success either. So I've just kind of seen, I'm not sure if Volkan's really into this anymore. But back to the styles, Volkan is obviously a better kickboxer than him. Volkan can come out here and light him up. It's just that, at what point is Volkan going to drop him, follow him into his guard, or get the guard pulled, get guard pulled on him, and then he tries to pass and this and that, and he just gets caught up in Paul Craig's shit. So, I would pick Paul Craig to lose the entire fight until he wins it. So, yeah, and I get why people are on Volkan, because he's got a clear path to victory, but didn't Ankalaev have a clear path to victory? Didn't Kennedy and Zechiku have a clear path? Didn't Jamal Hill, Nikita Krylov, didn't all these dudes have clear paths? They all got clear paths. And Volkan should be the favorite for those reasons. It's just, can we trust them to fight smart in here and not get carried away? These guys just think for some reason they're going to pound him out on the ground. They think for some reason they're going to beat him at his own game. They're going to pass his guard. They're going to do this. They're going to do that. I don't know. So I'm going to go with Paul Craig to lose the entire fight until he finds an opportunistic submission and he fucking does it again. Now, next up in the lightweight division, we got a matchup between Ludovit Klein, representing Slovakia, I believe, taking on Mason Jones, who's 11-1, representing Wales. Currently, they got it. Mason Jones minus 350. The comeback on Ludovit Klein is plus 285. So, I liked Ludovit when he first came into the UFC. I cashed on him against Shane Young. I mean, obviously, he's a pretty athletic dude. He's very fast, especially in the early going. Nice footwork, pops his jab, and he's known for that signature high kick. His get-ups have gotten a lot better. He's putting in a lot of work. But the thing with this guy, Mason Jones, kind of reminds me of like a lightweight Marvin Vettori, man, where it's like he's got that blockhead. He eats a lot of unnecessary shots, but his chin is absolutely insane. And then it's just got that pressure where he just wilts guys. He breaks them. He cooks them to the bone. And I think that's exactly what he's going to do here. I think that we've seen Ludovit Klein succumb to pressure on multiple occasions. And look, as long as Mason Jones doesn't go down to the high kick, as long as Mason Jones doesn't get hit so much that he's finally compromised, I think that as this fight enters the 2nd, 3rd round, the pressure is going to be too much. So I could see Jones winning in a variety of ways as Ludovit starts to fatigue. Also in the lightweight division, we got a matchup between Marc Diakiese, he's 15-5, taking on Damir Hadzovic, who is 14-6. Currently, they got it. Marc Diakiese minus 330. The comeback on Damir Hadzovic is plus 275. So I haven't quite forgiven Damir Hadzovic for the epic stun he pulled against Christos Giagos in Europe, by the way. That that's not a fight you're supposed to lose, man. That was a showcase fight, and he blew it, man. And I just think that I haven't really been seeing too much improvement. Look, he's got some nice Euro kickboxing. I guess the ground game has been getting a little better. It's not like he's out here getting submitted every fight. I know the Moicano fight went how it went, but yeah, I just kind of see it being a situation where Marc Diakiese, now both guys can get off on calf kicks. That's something that we got to mention, because Marc Diakiese has been susceptible to calf kicks, but he's also landed some of his own. But when Marc Diakiese goes to that wrestling, when he gets that body lock, when he gets that blast double, like, he's finding these ways to grind out these wins. As long as he's not trying to be too flashy and put on a show too much, I think he can come out here and grind out Damir Hadzovic. So for that reason, I'm picking him to win this fight. So a few fights left. Holy shit, more than a few fights left. We got 6 fights left, but everyone do me a huge favor. Smash the like button, hit the subscribe button. When this is over, make sure y'all leave me a comment, share, all those things. I truly appreciate it. But next up, in the featherweight division, we had a matchup between Nathaniel Wood, who's 17-5, taking on Charles Rosa, who is 14-7. Currently, they got it. Nathaniel Wood minus 560. The comeback on Charles Rosa plus 430. I see it being a case where, listen, Charles Rosa is not good athletically, super slow, super hittable, but he's just a tough as Boston strong kind of guy. With Nathaniel Wood, he's moving up to featherweight for this one. The issues we had with him at bantamweight was, he cut a lot of weight, so might have affected his durability a little bit. The guy's very hittable. But aside from that, I think he's got a massive speed advantage here. He's got some of the best leg kicks at bantamweight. Now he's moving up to featherweight. Charles Rosa, doesn't take much to take this guy down. It's just about, don't get caught up in some bullshit. Don't, let him open up a big cut on you and the doctors come in there and stop it. Don't get carried away and get caught in a submission. Little things like that. Back in the day, I cashed on Yair Rodriguez plus 200 against Charles Rosa, interestingly enough, in Mexico, by the way. But to Charles Rosa's credit, he made it all the way to a split, but that was so fucking long ago. I just see Charles Rosa slowing down, and I think this is a good fight for good introductory fight for Nathaniel Wood to the featherweight division. So he's going to be my pick. Now, next up, also in the featherweight division, we got a matchup between Makwan, Mr. Finley, Amirkhani. He's 17-7, taking on Jonathan JSP Pearce, who's 12-4. So early going, you got to give them Makwan Amirkhani. Makwan is hell on wheels in that first round. He gets on top of these guys. He runs them through the series. He dances all over them. If he can snatch that neck, he's got a very good Darce and the Anaconda series as well. It's just one of those things that with Makwan, he goes so fucking hard in that early going that he tends to have nothing left in the second and third. And I think there's also like a health related issue, which is part of the reason that happens. But with Jonathan Pearce, something I like about him is, look, he's one of these like kind of longer, goofy guys. So like he might get tagged up early and he might get taken down early, which is what you got to worry about with a guy like Makwan Amirkhani. But as fights progress, something I really like about Jonathan Pearce is that he can put up numbers, man. Like, let me pull up what these numbers are on a guy like JSP. That Contender Series fight, he landed 142 strikes. The Kai Kamaka fight, he goes out there and, the fight didn't even see round 3 and he had already thrown, 172 significant strikes, got him out of there. So he's just like one of these pace guys. He's one of these guys that, someone asked me what the health related issue is with Makwan. Just go to his Instagram. He talks about it after all his losses, how his kidneys, his this, his that, like it forces him to like gas out in fights. So just look it up. It's documented. But with JSP, something I like about him is he can go out there and hit 6 takedowns in multiple fights. Against Kai Kamaka, hit 5 takedowns. Against Omar Morales, hit 6 takedowns. Against Christian Rodriguez, hit 6 takedowns. So he's a guy that can land over 100 significant strikes, and he's a guy that can land 6 takedowns in a fight. Like, those are the kind of numbers I like to see. So just to me, it comes down to, can he get past the first round? Because we know the first round, Makwan's hell on wheels. But if he does get past the first round, I think that the pace for JSP is going to be too much in the second and third. So I'm taking Jonathan Pearce to come out here and win this fight. Now, next up in the flyweight division, we got a matchup between Mohammed Mokaev. He's 6-0. Taking on Charles Johnson, the former LFA champion, who's 11-2. Currently, they got it. Mohammed Mokaev minus 450. The comeback on Charles Johnson's plus 360. So Charles Johnson's good, former LFA champ, kind of a longer striker for the flyweight division, 5'9", switches stances nicely. He can kind of do it all. It's just more so there's not as much knockout power on the feet. It's more so of a volume, point fighting style. And he's a slick guy. He deserves his UFC opportunity 100%. I do have certain suspicions about certain things. I think there's a chance he might be a little bit weak to the body. Who knows? Just a slight speculation. And with Mokaev, he's just kind of like a young phenom. He needs to be tested properly. But like the way he did Cody Durden in his debut, like I know Cody Durden's lost some fights, but no one's ever done them like that. Like first exchange, like goddamn. But we want to know what happens if fights get extended. And this guy Charles Johnson, he's an Olympic track runner. Someone correct me on that. But bottom line, the guy's got insane cardio. So if he can extend this fight and survive some of these ground spots, you never know. We might be looking at a live dog, but most likely I think that the grappling edge is going to be a lot bigger here for Mokaev. And I think he comes out here and shows why he's a big favorite. That's not my most convicted pick because, I feel like besides the Cody Durden fight, which lasted less than a minute, I don't think Mokaev's really fought anybody. Whereas this guy, Charles Johnson's gone the distance with a top 5 UFC flyweight and Brandon Royval. And it was a serious, honest fight, so I understand people taking the shot, but I'm going to lean with Mokaev to come out here and possibly submit Charles Johnson. But Charles Johnson 100% deserves his UFC opportunity. I look forward to his next fight. I'm going to lean Mokaev to get it done, get it down to the mat and get it done on the mat. Now, next up in the lightweight division, we got Jai Herbert. He's 11-4, representing the UK, taking on Kyle Nelson, who's 13-4, representing Canada. Currently, they got it. Jai Herbert minus 275. The comeback on Kyle Nelson's plus 230. I know a lot of people are saying that, well, Jai Herbert got badly slept his last fight. How can he be a big favorite here? Well, firstly, he was looking great that fight against Topuria, and he's had moments in a lot of these fights, man. I mean, he dropped Trinaldo. He had a nice moment against Moicano. It's just he's fighting some really tough competition. This is a massive step down. Kyle Nelson, for his reputation of being a heavy hitter, he's only had one knockout since 2018. You understand what I'm saying? And yeah, he can swing big, and if he swings big on the chin of Herbert, you never know. But I just think Herbert's got him covered across the board. So I think Kyle is basically knockout or bust or early submission or bust or something. But I think that just the technique of Jai Herbert, and I think his experience inside the octagon, his shot selection, the length, and I kind of don't view Kyle Nelson as, I don't want to criticize the toughness of a UFC fighter. He's way tougher than me. I'd never make that walk, but like compared to other UFC fighters, I don't think that he's the toughest. So I'm going with Jai Herbert to come out here and rebound emphatically. Like that fight with Topuria, man, if that had been anyone else in there, I mean, that's a highlight reel finish for Jai Herbert. But it's insane what Topuria's chin's made out of, his resolve, the heart he has, the fact that he was able to get back up there and show he's a true Spanish warrior. Props to him, man. And I look forward to his next fight. But in this one, I got Jai Herbert coming out here. And I think he's got a little something for Kyle Nelson, assuming that he doesn't get stopped early. Oh shit, my boy Harry Davies in the house. My man Dan, it's your British geezer, Harry from the UK. Hope all is well in ATL. Hey, Harry, it was really nice meeting you at the PFL events, man. Anytime you're back in ATL, you hit me up, man, and vice versa if I'm in the UK, man. So I look forward to it, and it was really nice meeting you, brother. All right, let me see what's next on the card. So next up, we got a flyweight fight between Mandy Bohm, she's 7-1, representing Germany, taking on Victoria Leonardo, who's 8-4, representing the USA. Currently, they got at Mandy Bohm -130. The comeback on Victoria Leonardo is +110. Vegas was saying -185 Bohm, so maybe they know something, or maybe they're way off. I mean, here's kind of how I view this fight. I'm going to end up flipping a coin and seeing what the deal is, but I kind of view it as, someone said, does he post his official bets anywhere for people to tail? Are you referring to me? If you're referring to me, my friend, you must be new to the show, unless you're not referring to me. But if you are referring to me, my bets have been tracked since 2015 on Bet MMA Tips. I always give them out here on the podcast, and then I always tweet them out on my Twitter. So you should have no issues finding my bets. Okay, yeah, he said it. Yeah, me. So I hope that explained it. Yeah, Bet MMA Tips / Best Fight Picks have what, a 7-year sample size. Yeah, just go look it up. All my bets are there, brother. But back to Bohm and Leonardo. So I understand Leonardo's fought the better level of competition, the Miranda Mavericks, the Aaron Blanchfields, the what's the name of my girl? Melissa Gatto, Manon Fiorot. Okay, yeah. But like, she got blown out the water by all those fighters, right? And with Mandy Bohm, did not look impressive in that UFC debut, but you know what? She's got outside her comfort zone. She moved to Vegas. She's at Extreme Couture now. So whereas like I've kind of seen the finished product of Victoria Leonardo, I think that there's still room for improvement for Mandy Bohm. So it's one of those things where it's like, I don't feel comfortable laying chalk on Mandy Bohm, but at the same time, taking a shot on Leonardo, it's like a saying, like, you don't fade shit with shit. And no disrespect to these ladies, it's just, it is what it is. You don't fade a bottom of the barrel fighter with another bottom of the barrel fighter. But if you do, I guess you should take dog odds. So I see that argument. But since everybody's on Leonardo, I'll just go with Bohm. But it was more of like a coin flip type thing. And that's the last I'll say of that fight. Last but not least, kicking off the card, we got Nicolas Dalby, representing Denmark, taking on Claudio Hannibal Silva, who was 14-3, representing Brazil. Currently, they got a Nicolas Dalby -250. The comeback on Claudio Silva is +210. Now, normally you don't see lines like this on Nicolas Dalby. However, Claudio Silva is going through a big decline. My boy's 41, 42 years old. And at one point, he was that guy. I mean, he beat Leon Edwards back in the day, right? He beat Danny Hot Chocolate. This is a guy that takes your back one time. The fight could be over shortly after. This is a guy that his striking technique doesn't look the best, but when he cracks, he cracks. Guys feel it. When he gets on top of you, chances are you aren't getting back up. So in this dude's prime, like, Claudio Silva was the man a few years back. It's just, I think he's way past his prime. And with Dalby, look, he's no spring chicken either. He's 37, getting up there in age. But with Dalby, one thing he's always been known for is he gets in trouble early in fights, which is actually what I'm worried about here. Him getting in trouble early in this fight and not surviving. But what he's known for is he gets trouble and he gets in early trouble in these fights, and he's able to come back. He's got this nice bounce, this nice forward pressure, these high kicks, and he's been having some decent performances, like the Daniel Rodriguez fight. Look, a lot of us thought that D-Rod won the fight, but the fact that it was as competitive as it was, I mean, you got to give props to Nick Dalby for that. And then the Tim Means fight, another competitive fight. Dalby's got a win over Elijah Zaleski in Brazil, by the way, has a win over Alex Cowboy. We won't talk about the ref stand-up because you guys already know the deal on that. But still, like, he's beat some tough guys. He went to a draw with Darren Till, lost first 2 rounds, and then had the 10-8 in the third. So he's performed well. So now it's kind of his comeback, and I think he gets this one. A couple of years ago, I would have taken the shot on Claudio Silva. I just think that he's past that point in his career now. So that's all I got to say. So before I get out of here, I'd like to answer some last few fan questions. If you got them for me, this is the last call. But before we do that, I'm going to talk about the fight to watch and the fighter to watch. Fight to watch. Let's go Jack Hermansson, Chris Curtis. I mean, Chris Curtis was a guy who was not in the UFC that long of a time ago. Am I stumbling on my words right now? Excuse me, guys. Not too long ago had he made his UFC debut, is what I'm trying to say. But Chris Curtis has impressed. This is a guy that's had a very long career, and now he's really putting it all together. 3-fight win streak in the UFC against formidable opponents. But now he's not welcome to the top 10, young man, because Jack Hermansson's been in there with all the best guys. And Jack Hermansson, let's see how much hunger he's got left in the tank. So I just think it's going to be a great fight. Odds makers think so too. It's a pick 'em. Jack Hermansson versus Chris Curtis is my fight to watch. My fighter to watch is Nikita Krylov. I know for a fact that he's a guy when Gustafsson was at the top of his game that Krylov probably always dreamed about having a fight with Alexander Gustafsson, and now he's got that chance. Coming off 2 losses, both guys are, well, Gustafsson 3 losses, but Krylov coming off 2 losses. I know he's hungry to get back in there, and I know for a fact that a fight like this is one that's going to motivate him. So for that reason, Nikita Krylov is my fighter to watch. All right, let me answer a couple questions. And besides that, I'm going to get out of here. So I'm scrolling up a little bit, seeing what y'all got for me. And let me know what y'all got. So ask me any questions, and then I'm getting out of here. Let's see. Someone says Diakiese bed shitter of the week. Can't trust that guy. I feel you. Just can you trust Hadzovic? Anybody excited for Nate Diaz's funeral? I am. Not because I got anything against Nate. I actually love Nate. It's just the fight week hype is going to be insane. They're going to be talking a lot of shit, and it should be violent while it lasts. So I'm excited for it. And they're getting paid, so that's a good thing. Let's see what else we got. The Burn says, when is the time to fade Topuria? You just got against Evloev. Again, you just gotta hit me up when his next matchup comes out and tell me what the odds are, and we'll take it from there. He said Topuria and Georgian Spanish warrior. Yeah, he's like representing Spain and Georgia. He represents them both, but the dude speaks in Spanish. My boy said, DFS Whisperer said, Kimura, that like button. I appreciate that, my friend. Everybody smash that like button for me. And if you're not subscribed, man, come on. Subscribe to the channel. Let's help it grow. Let's see. Okay. Bob said, do you know if there is anywhere to find the fighter walkout songs on a playlist somewhere? Yeah. So I think MMA Junkie would write out, would like put an article out with like what songs the fighters walked out to, and then you can just go turn that into a Spotify playlist. And then I think they came out with some other like some app, but I don't know the name of it. But at least, but the walkout songs do get released if you want to put it into a playlist. My boy Marcus Williams, shout out Marcus. He says, great show. Curtis Blaydes at underdog money is the bet to make. We'll see. We'll see. I'm on Aspinall, but we'll see. I mean, you could be right. Herb Dean said, are you subscribed to Jordan Leavitt's YouTube channel? He does great book reviews. No, I'm not. And for those that don't know, that MMA tips page is not Jordan Leavitt. So let's just go ahead and scratch that. All right. Anyways, someone said underdog most likely to pull it off this weekend. I don't know. I missed the underdog odds on Hermansson, so I would have said him. Hopefully a line flip in the main event. Then I can say Aspinall, but maybe another Paul Craig submission, right? Maybe something like that. But yeah, I'm not sure. All right, guys. Well, thank you all so much for joining me on this very special UFC London edition of Half the Battle. I truly appreciate y'all being here, and I truly enjoyed being here with y'all. So thank you all so much for everything. It truly means the world to me. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. Do me a favor, comment on this afterwards, share it, retweet the tweets, all that stuff. All those little things y'all do help the show grow. So thank y'all so much for that. I'll be back next week for the next card. So until the next time, let's cash these bets.